Always, somewhere on Earth, there is time for a safari. Let safari season take you there.
Take someone, I guess, work at your next adventure. Go where I go. Go with someone I trust. Go with Safari Season. Uncut version of this adventure on ultimateshot.us and huntingvideos.us. Welcome to Bulgaria, home of 4 world record stag and 10 of the biggest trophies in the world. Come to the wilderness in the heart of Europe. Join the experience of the best hunters in the world as Safari Season brings you to Bulgaria.
Not only the crocodiles accepted the tasty bits of meat from the captain, the birds of prey wanted their part of the bribe too, in order to entertain the tourists with their attractive acrobatic numbers. Just what I needed. I think Vlado and I took some very good photos. Here was a large one.
Interesting, after you shot him, came and they're territorial, and after being shot he ran into somebody else's territory.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough for him to be chased back towards us.
Yeah.
They're nice and they're very thick, heavily ridged. They're splayed out beautifully at the top.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like you say. It's turned out a beautiful male. We came out looking for this one. PJ Fouget, our host, had seen it and had a picture of it. And now we do too. So thanks, PJ.
The lower population of sheep compared to the Dagestan tour really make it a little bit more difficult for an archer. Needs to be a young and up-and-coming archer, somebody in his 20s that can climb these mountains.
It was all official now. The new world record for a waterback was lying in front of me. And again we had a memorable ultimate shot, which this extremely beautiful and noble animal deserved. And do you know the most interesting part? This trophy was number 3 for all kinds of weapons, a result only 1 or 2 hunters in the whole history of hunting can boast of.
Tip to tip is 29. It's what? 29 inches wide. Is it really?
If we had ever known what an interesting and exciting hunt was awaiting us, we would have started for the marshes hours before. Our first encounter, however, was not with the wild inhabitants, but with the constantly growing cow herds, which had spread even here in the Katunga Reserve, where it was absolutely unacceptable to allow livestock. The antelope were exterminated by the regime of Muammar Gaddafi, and this herd here is one of the last hopes for the beautiful antelope species.
The Sahara Desert, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scimitar, horned oryx.
That's it.
And thanks to guys like Gaddafi, they're extinct in their natural environment. But they're found here near Darwin, in northern Australia, and in Texas.
East Uganda, the second leg of our big hunt here, a big safari. Uganda is a special place. Try and get here soon, before too many people have come here and things have changed and become more commercialized. I've had an unbelievable experience. I've taken 6 species, 7 animals in 6 days with my bow. Why don't you check out Uganda, a new and special place with wonderful people? Contact Safari Season and have them arrange a safari of a lifetime for you. Stay tuned to see the most exciting hippo action you'll ever see in your lifetime.
Our beloved guests, we are extremely very grateful and happy to be with you, and we are overjoyed. We have been seeing a lot of things, but what we have seen in this safari is very extraordinary, and it's a wonder for us to see somebody using a bow to get the trophy.
Thank you.
We are also
Trophy of an animal I had not even hoped to be able to approach was a big step forward. By the way, this kind of trophy was taken with a bow for the first time here, which automatically made it number 1 in the record book of Safari Club International. Several arrows in the termite mound always helped me concentrate on the next task.
square miles. And the weather, as you saw, is not bad weather.
No,
We have good weather.
Yeah.
And we hunt all year round, and the weather is not bad.
In addition to their remarkable architectural achievements, the Australians have caught my attention with their exotic specialties.
Yeah, shark, and you can see this one's got about 8 rows of teeth. They break the outer one, and the next one shows up. Look at the row after row of teeth.
I believe the arrow had missed the aim. The trajectory had been perfect and the arrow had flown almost the whole distance to it when the impala moved. If I had not seen the shot in slow motion, I would still be torturing myself for missing. I was starting to think that the impala would turn out to be the animal most difficult to hunt in our safari. After this failure, we decided to have some breakfast, and as soon as we had sat comfortably on our chairs, we saw the vultures. The big black cleaners of the forest had noticed carrion, and we could not ignore this sign. We had to check what it was, a leopard or a poacher. An easy prey to the lion we had seen in the morning, who knew? I needed one more chance, and many of my questions would find their answers. But you will see this in the following episode of Ultimate Shot.
Sitting here relaxing and getting ready for tomorrow morning, and we looked out at our lake, and the other side of the lakes all of a sudden got half as close.
Today we're continuing on our hunt for a big East African impala, and we're after a big one in the 27, 28, 29 inch range, and they're here. We've seen them, so stay tuned. That impala's gonna go down.
The arrow had just entered the 2-meter zone from it, and it started to react at that moment. In short, for the time it took the arrow to fly the last 2 meters, the impala had jumped 2 meters away. But could be seen very well here, where the sandy soil had preserved the tracks in perfect condition. Deadly, and if we had started after the wounded animal right away, we would have found it long ago. The blade went in deep under the thick hide of the hippo, making room for the whole arrow up to the feather to penetrate its body. The heart was pierced this time for sure. The big animal made 3 steps and fell into the shallow water. Probably the opponents it had defeated still did not realize that they would have to decide now which of them had the rights over the big herd in the next pool. Big colony of velvet monkeys. This curious and very intelligent monkey is famous for its various warning cries for the various predator species in the bush. For example, their young are being trained from the early stage to repeat the cries of the adult monkeys, and Today we start a new adventure in which I, your host Archie Nesbitt, will show you an astonishing bit of the pearl of the African continent, Uganda. We are going to hunt in the marshes and wetlands of Katunga. Our main goal is to find a water buck bigger than the one I managed to stalk in the previous episode of Ultimate Shot, and if we are super lucky, we will hunt for Sitatunga too. On our way, we stopped at a roadside restaurant where Kaka showed us the difference between a genuine hunting spear and an artistic representation of it made for decoration. And we did not see similar mutations in any of the numerous waterbuck in the herds. If I had been the only one to see it, I would have decided I was imagining things. However, besides me and Kaka, Vlado had been there too, and he had even managed to film it.
on the ultimate shot. Someone just motioned to me that there's a big one in the brush behind us.
In the previous episode of Ultimate Shot, you witnessed the stalk and take of a historic trophy, a monstrous waterbuck. After Kaka and I officially measured it at the camp in the presence of the videographer Vlado and the tracker Alex, and we compared the result of the measurement with the registers of the Record Book of Safari Club International, do not be misled to think that the economic giants are helping the weak economies in Africa by granting loans or even free aid, paid incidentally by the taxpayers. Also aid in the form of abundant deliverers of remarkable, genetically modified seeds which kill the traditional cultures. This is a genocide which boils down to the question people here face every day: my family or the impala meat from the reserve? The only way out of the current situation, deadly for the wild animals, is to give them a value different from the bloody meat which the hungry sees in them. This was what we were doing here now.
And really, they are quite quiet. There's no question in my mind that any bull hunter that comes to Uganda will be successful at getting these species of animals. Many times we were in bull range of mature males of every one of these species. Some of the smaller animals that were more jittery we had trouble with. But this is really a mecca for a bull hunter, and it's all free range. It isn't like some other parts of the world and Africa where everything's high fenced. This is all free range, there's no fences at all, and these animals are all in the wild.
You break through and you fall down about 4 feet. Look at the blood here.
Coming out of the swamp would be difficult without the lead of the Sitatunga, but with its taking the whole safari, all the hardships and the difficulties we had endured for the last few days now had a meaning.
Ultimate journey for the ultimate shot.
It's one of the only things that works well against tsetse flies.
I may have been wrong about my estimate of man's place in this food chain. We are going there at the invitation of the local outfitter and an old-time friend, PJ. He told us about the unusual cases of missing fishermen during the last few years. The latest incident was 4 months ago. So we were going there prepared to encounter the real danger. The first 5 days of the safari had been extremely successful. I had managed to take a puku antelope and 2.
We asked about swimming here and they said, well, we don't, but you can. There's crocodiles, there's sea snakes, and as you get out a little deeper, of course, there's some sharks. So the boys aren't going to swim, and I guess we aren't either. You'd want to get out about 200 yards and get into the clear water. They said there's 3 kinds of poisonous snakes here, so I guess if they don't swim, we won't swim. We'll just go hunting.
When we got back from this safari, I checked with the all-knowing Google to see if Greg had been joking about the dangerous creatures which century. But in order to become a reality, the project for constructing the shells, 75 meters in diameter each, was to be realized. In practice, nobody had ever built such a grandiose structure, and the real
In this segment of the ultimate shot,
out and came a few times to see if we felt well and if we meant to stay for supper. After nearly an hour and a half of careful inspection, the only